It was 1987, the kind of year when a sick day could make a whole house feel far away. Nintendo games still carried a little mystery with them then. You did not know everything before you turned the power on. Sometimes all you had was the box, a manual, a few rumors from other kids, and whatever the television was willing to reveal. Metroid felt stranger than most. It was not bright or friendly. It did not explain itself much. It only opened a dark planet called Zebes and asked you to keep going. For Danny, that afternoon felt even quieter than usual. He had the flu, his throat hurt, and his head felt warm and heavy. Talking took more energy than he wanted to spend. So when Tommy and Max came over to keep him company and brought Metroid with them, the whole evening took on the soft, half dreamlike feeling that only childhood could give to ordinary things. No one fell asleep. No magic happened. Danny simply lay there, sick and tired, while his two friends sat near the television and talked their way deeper and deeper into the strange, underground world on the screen. By late afternoon, the room had gone dim in the way it did when you stayed home sick too long. The curtains were half open, the March light was thin, and Danny lay under a brown blanket on the couch with a sore throat and a face that felt too warm. Tissues crowded the end table beside a spoon with dried pink medicine and a glass of ginger ale gone flat. The television was still dark, but the Nintendo console was hooked up beneath it. Tommy had brought Metroid over in its box. Max had come in right behind him, bringing cold air from outside and enough energy to change the room. "You any better?" Tommy asked. Danny gave a small shrug. "A little. You need anything?" Max asked. "Water? Blanket fixed? You want the TV low?" Danny shook his head. Talking hurt. "I'm okay." Tommy knelt in front of the set and pressed the power button. The red light came on. A second later, the television gave its soft pop, and color filled the room. Danny always noticed the glow more when he was sick. It spread over the table, Tommy's cheek, Max's knees, the blanket pulled to Danny's chest. "This already looks weird," Max said when the title screen appeared. "It doesn't look like any other game." "It's supposed to," Tommy said. Danny listened to the music too. It was not cheerful. It sounded far away, as if it belonged somewhere under the house instead of inside the television. Tommy tapped the manual. "This is on a planet called Zebes." "Zebes," Max repeated. "That sounds slimy." "The space pirates stole these things called Metroids," Tommy said. "They found them on another planet and brought them here." "What are they?" Danny asked quietly. "Floating life forms," Tommy said, opening the manual. "They latch on and drain your energy." Max made a face. "That's disgusting." "And you have to go after Mother Brain," Tommy added. "Mother Brain sounds like a giant brain in a jar," Max said. Danny nearly smiled. That seemed to fit the game. When the first area appeared, with rocky ledges and black spaces between them, it did not look built for people. Even the round doors seemed strange. Tommy moved the little figure forward. "I bet this whole place goes straight down forever." "Or sideways forever," Max said. "Maybe the whole planet is underground." Danny listened to them build the world out of guesses. The first enemy drifted into view. Tommy fired, missed once, then hit it. "That one a pirate?" Max asked. "No, too small. That's probably just some cave thing." Another shaft opened, tall and dark, with ledges climbing up the screen. Danny could feel the shape of the place before he understood it. This was not like the other games they played. It seemed to keep things from you on purpose. "It's a maze," Tommy said softly. "That means if you go the wrong way, you're stuck forever," Max said. Tommy stopped in front of a narrow opening. "How's he supposed to fit in there?" "Maybe later he gets smaller," Max said. "Maybe the suit changes." "That would make sense," Tommy said. "This place looks like it hides things." Danny pulled the blanket higher. Tommy had that thoughtful voice he got when he was trying to figure things out, and Max kept throwing out theories that made the game seem bigger. Max looked back. "You sure you don't want fresh ginger ale?" "Maybe later." Danny shook his head. On the screen, Tommy found another door, another drop that disappeared below the edge. "I still think this guy's some kind of robot." "He can't be a robot," Max said. "Robots wouldn't go alone." "Maybe he's the only one tough enough," Tommy said. Danny watched the little figure pause in the doorway, arm cannon raised. The hero's name was in the manual, but somehow the suit mattered more than the person inside it. Tommy and Max could imagine almost anything. A soldier, a robot, Somebody sent alone into a planet full of tunnels and hidden things. From the kitchen, his mother's voice drifted in and out beneath the music. The room stayed dim except for the television and the red eye of the console. Tommy looked back. Danny, you okay? Danny nodded. You want us to stop? Danny looked at the screen, at the sealed round door behind the little figure and the darkness below. No, he said, his voice dry but certain. Keep, keep going. Tommy smiled and turned back to the television, and Danny, listening to the soft click of buttons and the low murmur of his friends trying to understand a place none of them had ever seen before, felt the afternoon loosen around him. The fever was still there, the sore throat was still there. But now, there was Zebes too, waiting below the screen, growing larger every time Tommy and Max tried to guess what might be hiding deeper in the dark. Tommy kept going, and the room settled into a rhythm steady enough to rest inside. Buttons clicked. The television gave off its low electric hum. Now and then the heater woke somewhere in the house and pushed warmth into the living room, though not enough to take the chill from Danny's hands. He kept them under the blanket and watched through heavy eyes as Brinstar opened itself a little at a time. Tommy played carefully. He stopped at ledges before jumping. He tested drops before taking them. When a door sealed and a few creatures floated in from the dark, he stayed calm and picked them off one by one. It really does feel like a real place, Tommy said, not just rooms put together. Yeah, Max said, like somebody built it and then left. Or never left, Tommy said. That made Danny look up more. On the screen, the rocky passages and dark shafts did not feel empty in a normal way. They felt watchful. Max leaned closer. Imagine coming here for real. You get off your ship and the whole place smells like wet rocks. And metal, Tommy said. Danny could almost believe it. The game made him think of the darkest corner of the school basement, only bigger and deeper, with no teacher anywhere, just tunnels and ledges and whatever lived between them. Tommy guided Samus through another shaft. Doors sat at different heights, some leading sideways, some only promising more climbing. How's anybody supposed to know where they've already been? Max asked. Tommy tapped the manual beside him. It says you should draw your own map. Max laughed. That means even Nintendo knew kids would get lost. You are kids, Danny said. Max twisted around and grinned. True, the grin faded when he saw Danny rub at his throat. You need anything? Danny shook his head. Water? Blanket fixed? I'm okay. Tommy glanced back too. You sure? Danny nodded and Tommy turned back to the television. The music drifted on, thin and eerie. Tommy moved into another chamber, then paused in front of a narrow tunnel too small for Samus to enter. There, Max said at once. I told you. He's got to turn into something. Tommy fired into the opening. Nothing happened. Maybe there's another way around. No, they want you to wonder about it first. Tommy kept staring at the passage. Maybe the suit folds up. That would kill you. It's a space suit. It probably knows what it's doing. Danny listened, amused in spite of himself. Max always sounded as if he had secret information. They moved on and found a room with an item waiting at the end. There's something, Max said, sitting up straighter. Tommy took it. A moment later, the shots changed. Oh, that's better, Max said. Way better. The old one barely went anywhere. Danny watched the brighter beam stretch farther across the room. Even sick, he could feel the satisfaction of it. Not just power. More like the planet had given up one small secret. That means there are more things hidden around, Tommy said. Of course there are. No game starts out this weird and only has one secret. Tommy dropped into another chamber where enemies appeared in odd little patterns from the floor and ceiling. These things don't even look related, Max said. That's why it feels creepy. It's like Zebes lets anything grow here. Maybe the pirates brought some of them, Tommy said. Or maybe this planet changes things. Danny turned that over in his mind. A place so deep and old it could change whatever stayed inside it. Maybe even people. His mother came in quietly with a fresh glass and set it on the table. She touched his forehead with the back of her hand. Still warm, she said. Danny made a small sound that meant he knew. Tommy lowered the volume a notch without being asked. Max moved the tissue box closer to the couch. Neither of them made a fuss. When his mother left, Max said, softer now, You feel any better than before? Maybe a little. Tommy smiled but kept his eyes on the screen. That's because Brinstar is good for you. Brinstar looks terrible for you, Max said. If you fell down one of these holes, they'd never find you again. Danny laughed once, then coughed. Tommy paused the game right away. You okay? Danny nodded, pressing the blanket near his mouth until it passed. Keep going. Tommy waited a second, then unpaused. The little armored figure moved on, deeper into the maze, and the room seemed to go with it. At first, Metroid had only been something to help the afternoon pass. Now, Brinstar was beginning to feel real in that childhood way. Certain places could, as though somewhere beneath the ordinary world there truly was another planet made of shafts, hidden openings, and secrets that only revealed themselves if you stayed long enough. By the time Tommy found the next long shaft, the daylight at the window had thinned to a pale blur behind the curtains. Most of the room belonged to the television now. Its light moved across the table, across Max's sleeves, across the edge of Danny's blanket, turning things blue and green before letting them go. Danny lay still and listened. The ache in his bones bothered him less when Tommy and Max kept talking. Even when his throat burned, their voices made the room seem steadier. On the screen, Brinstar kept opening in narrow pieces. A shaft went down farther than Danny expected, with ledges set into the walls and doors sealed behind bursts of light. Tommy took his time. He never rushed a jump if he could help it. There's got to be more to this place than going down, Max said. No planet would build itself all one way. Maybe that's why it feels real, Tommy said. It doesn't feel arranged for you. Danny liked that. He watched the armored figure pause on a ledge as if listening too. Tommy found another dead end, then another narrow passage no normal person could fit through. He stopped again. See? There it is. Max leaned closer. The tiny tunnel. It has to mean something. Tommy fired into the wall beside it. Nothing happened. He fired at the ceiling. Still nothing. Try the floor, Max said. Tommy did, and a small block disappeared. All three of them stared. Ha! Max whispered. I knew this game was sneaky. Tommy dropped through and landed in a room they had not seen before. The item sat there alone. Danny pushed himself up a little. Even that much movement made his head feel full of heat. Easy, Tommy said, glancing back. You okay? Danny nodded. What is it? Tommy took the item. The figure curled into a ball. Max slapped his knee. No way. Tommy rolled the ball form back and forth once, then again. He really does get smaller. Told you. Max said. I told you the suit changes. Danny watched the tiny shape move into the passage that had seemed impossible a minute earlier. It did not feel like a trick. It felt like Zebes had been waiting to see whether they were paying attention. Tommy reached for the manual and turned pages with one hand. Maru Mari, he read. What kind of name is that? Maybe it's another language, Max said. Maybe it's what the people here called it. Max looked at the screen again. Then where are they? No one answered right away. The ball rolled through the cramped tunnel and came out into another chamber, hidden behind what had looked solid. Danny felt a small chill even under the blanket. The game was not just large, it was secretive. Tommy tried the new form in another room, then another. Sometimes it helped, sometimes it didn't. I bet there are fake walls everywhere, Max said. You could live on this planet your whole life and still not know half of it was there. If anyone lives here, Tommy said. The pirates do. Maybe they don't count. Danny smiled faintly at that. The smile faded when a cough rose in his chest. He turned into the blanket, trying to keep it small, but Tommy paused the game anyway. Max was already reaching for the ginger ale. Here. Danny took a sip. The cold still felt good. Thanks. You need another blanket? Tommy asked. I'm okay. You don't sound okay. Danny managed a shrug. Better than before. Tommy unpaused the game. Brinstar looked different now that there was a way into the smaller places. Rooms that had seemed finished no longer felt finished. Every narrow space suggested another one somewhere else. Tommy tried bombing a suspicious spot by instinct just to see if the game would let him. It didn't. Imagine if later on there are walls you have to blow open too, Max said. You say that like you want more trouble. I want more reasons for this place to be weird. Danny understood. Metroid did not ask for excitement in the usual way. It asked for attention. It made you stare at a wall a second longer than you meant to. Tommy guided Samus into another hidden route, and Danny found himself thinking less about his fever and more about the kind of person who would go alone into a planet like this. Not a hero from the schoolyard kind of stories. Someone quieter. Someone patient enough to keep going when nothing around them made sense. Do you think he talks? Max asked. Like, out loud? Or is he the kind that just keeps moving? Tommy was guiding the ball back through a narrow tunnel. Maybe only when he has to. Danny looked at the figure straightening back into shape on the other side. That answer felt right. A person alone in a place like Zebes would not waste words. They would listen first. They would watch. They would let the planet tell them what it was willing to tell. After that, Tommy could not look at Brinstar the same way. Every room seemed to hide a second room now, folded inside it somewhere, waiting for the right guess. He moved more slowly than before, nudging Samus against corners and dropping into suspicious gaps. Max kept leaning forward, as if he could help by staring hard enough. The house had gone quiet around them. Somewhere deeper in it, a cupboard door shut and a faucet ran for a few seconds, then stopped. In the living room, the loudest things were the television, the button clicks, and Danny's breathing under the blanket. His fever had settled into that strange evening state where he no longer felt truly hot or cold, only distant. On the screen, Samus rolled through another tight passage and came out beside a shaft they had not seen before. There, Max said. See, the planet's full of crawl spaces. Tommy nodded. It's like the place was built with extra ways through. Or for things that are supposed to live here, Max said. Danny listened to that and pictured Zebes not as a set of rooms, but as something with veins. Tommy found a new door and stepped through. The room beyond looked harsher, with different ledges and enemies that moved in quicker little bursts. Do you think the pirates made any of this? Max asked. Maybe some of the doors, Tommy said. Not the whole planet. No, I mean the parts where they keep stuff. They stole the Metroids and brought them here, right? Tommy picked up the manual again. Yeah, they found them on SR-388 and brought them to Zebes. So if Mother Brain is here, maybe this is their base now. Mother Brain still sounds fake, Max said. Danny smiled faintly into the blanket. Tommy turned another page. It says Mother Brain is controlling the space pirates. From where? Somewhere deep inside. Max sat back. So this whole time you're going towards something. That's worse, Danny said quietly. Both boys looked over. You mean worse scary? Tommy asked. Danny nodded once. Max lowered his voice. You need anything? Danny swallowed. No. You sure? Tommy asked. Water? More ginger ale? I'm okay. Tommy watched him another second, then turned back. The room on the screen filled with enemies that swooped in uneven arcs. Tommy dealt with them, but not cleanly. Samus took a hit and flashed. Aw, come on, Max muttered. Tommy found an opening and climbed higher. I still think the weirdest part is going alone. Maybe he doesn't have a choice. Tommy glanced at the manual. It says the Federation sent him. Him, Max repeated. See, I told you. He's some kind of space soldier. Danny kept listening. There was something in the way Max said it, half certain and half invented, that made Samus feel larger without becoming clearer. What if he volunteered? Max said. Like everybody else heard about Zebes and said no way. Tommy considered that. Maybe. Or maybe he's the only one who knows how to get through places like this. On the television, Samus crossed a ledge over a red stretch below that looked dangerous even without explanation. Lava? Max asked. Probably. Great. So if the caves don't kill you, the planet boils you. Danny watched the colors flicker across the room and thought how strange it was that a game could make a place feel real just by refusing to explain it all. Tommy and Max had to build the meaning themselves, piece by piece. Tommy stopped in front of another patch of floor that looked ordinary. Try a bomb, Max said. We don't have bombs yet. Max frowned. Then what if there are hidden places you can see now but not reach till later? That would be perfect, Max said. From the hallway came the soft tread of Danny's mother's slippers. She stepped in with a folded washcloth and touched his forehead again. Still warm, she murmured. Try to rest. Tommy lowered the volume another notch. When she left, Max said, almost under his breath, You feel any better at all? A little, Danny said, though his head still ached. But the room had changed since Tommy and Max came over. It no longer felt like a place where time had stalled. It felt connected to something else now, to shafts and sealed doors and a planet buried under its own secrets. Tommy guided Samus into another corridor and paused at the threshold. If Mother Brain's really down there, Max said, then maybe this whole planet is built to slow you down. Tommy nodded. Not stop you. Just make sure only the right person gets there. Danny looked at the screen, at the small armored figure standing in the doorway as the strange music went on, and for the first time that afternoon, Zebes did not seem merely eerie. It seemed deliberate, a place keeping its worst secret far below and making you earn every step toward it. A little later, Tommy found the way down. It did not look important at first, just another shaft dropping past ledges and doors with the same green stone and the same black spaces between platforms. But the enemies changed as he descended, moving faster and from stranger angles, and even Danny could tell the colors on the screen were shifting away from Brinstar. Max noticed too. This looks different, Tommy nodded. Yeah. Danny watched from under the blanket. Evening had reached the window, turning the strip between the curtains into a dull gray line. The television did most of the work now, laying blue and green light over the table, the tissue box, Tommy's hands. Another door opened, and the game showed a place that looked hotter even through glass. Red glowed below certain ledges. Norfair, Tommy said, checking the manual. Max repeated the name slowly. That sounds worse than Brinstar. It is worse. Fire zone. Max sat up straighter. See? I knew that red stuff was lava. Danny felt the difference right away. Brinstar had seemed hidden. Norfair felt hostile. It was still underground, still made of caves and shafts and impossible drops, but it no longer felt like a place you might wander into by accident. Tommy took a careful jump over one of the red pits. Definitely lava, Max said. Probably, Tommy said, smiling. Definitely. The rooms widened and narrowed in the odd way Metroid liked to do. Strange enemies rose through the heated-looking air. Tommy learned their paths one careful try at a time. If the pirates are keeping the Metroids anywhere, it'd be down here, Max said. Maybe, or deeper, Tommy said. There's deeper than this? There's always deeper than this. Danny listened and felt a faint shiver, though his face was still warm. Tommy had a way of saying things that made Zebes sound older than the cartridge itself. After a difficult stretch, Tommy found an item room and paused before taking it. What is it? Max asked. Tommy collected it. A new counter appeared. Missiles. Max slapped the carpet once. Good. You need missiles in a place like this. Why? Because regular shots are for cave bugs. Missiles are for whatever's waiting at the bottom. Danny laughed before he could stop himself. It came out rough and ended in a cough. Tommy paused immediately. You okay? Max had already lifted the glass from the end table. Here. Danny took a sip and let the cold settle his throat. I'm fine. You don't sound fine, Max said. He's got the flu, Tommy reminded him. I know, I'm just checking. Danny gave the glass back. Keep going. Tommy watched him another second, then turned to the screen. Norfair kept unfolding in fierce little pieces. A high ledge, a narrow descent, another stretch above bubbling red ground. Unlike Brinstar, which had hidden its intentions, Norfair almost seemed proud of them. It looked like a place that wanted you to know you were unwelcome. I bet it's hot enough in there that your helmet fogs up, Max said. Not if the suit handles it, Tommy said. Then the suit's better than my dad's car. That's not hard, Danny smiled faintly. Max never imagined only the big things. He imagined what the air smelled like, how hot the walls might feel, whether a person inside that armor could hear their own footsteps. Do you think Samus is scared? Danny asked quietly. Tommy did not answer right away. He made a jump, landed, and fired at a creature coming low across the screen. Maybe the first time, he said. Max shook his head. No, scared people don't go alone. That doesn't mean you're not scared, Tommy said. It just means you keep moving. Danny looked at the small figure standing above the red glow and thought that sounded truer than the easy kind of bravery boys usually talked about. Tommy tried a missile at a suspicious wall. Nothing happened, but the attempt still mattered. Norfair felt like the sort of place where every wrong guess taught you something. From the kitchen drifted the faint smell of broth. The heater clicked once. The room, with its blanket and medicine spoon and dim corners, stayed ordinary and safe. Yet Norfair had entered it now. Danny could feel that much. The red pits and the heavier air had changed the afternoon. Tommy moved through one more door and stopped on a ledge overlooking another long drop. Max lowered his voice without meaning to. How far down do you think Mother Brain is? Tommy stared at the screen. Fair enough that the planet starts feeling like it belongs to her. Danny said nothing after that. He only watched the glow touch his blanket and Tommy's hands and the front of Max's sneakers, while below the ledge on the television, Norfair waited with its heat and silence. Tommy did not hurry after that. He left Samus on the ledge in Norfair for a moment, as if even the little figure on the screen needed time to look down into all that red heat and decide whether to go farther. Outside, the last of the daylight had gone, leaving only the faint reflection of the living room in the dark window. Max tucked one foot under himself on the carpet. I still think the pirates picked this planet because nobody normal would want to come here. And because you could hide things forever, Tommy said. Danny listened with his cheek against the blanket. He could smell broth from the kitchen and the cough drops on the table. The fever was still there, but Tommy and Max had given his mind something better to hold. On the television, Tommy tried the drop, then another, moving carefully over the lava-colored pits and through doors that opened with their same heavy circle of light. A hard stretch of enemies pushed him back once, then twice. He only learned the timing and tried again. You need more than missiles, Max said. There's no way they expect that to be enough. Bombs, probably, Tommy said. Maybe better jump boots. He said it so plainly that Danny pictured those unknown things already waiting in the dark, not as prizes, but as tools left by a place that expected you to pay attention. After another turn through Norfair, Tommy frowned and backed out through 2 rooms. I don't want to get stuck down here yet. Scared? Max asked. Smart. Max grinned. Same thing. Tommy brought Samus back up through the shafts. Going back only made the earlier rooms seem changed. Tommy paused the game and reached for the school notebook on the end table. I'm making a map, Max laughed. That's exactly what the manual said, because it knows people like you will say, I'll remember, and then remember nothing. Max took the notebook anyway. Fine, but if your map's ugly, don't blame me. Danny watched them begin with crooked little boxes and lines. It was probably not accurate, but it made the game seem even more real. His mother came in with a mug and set it down where he could reach it. Slowly, she said. It's hot. Tommy glanced over. How you doing now? Danny lifted one shoulder. Better than this afternoon. Max turned around at once. You want us to keep the volume here? It's okay. You need another pillow? Danny shook his head. Then Tommy unpaused and Zebes returned. Back in Brinstar, he tried one suspicious floor after another. He rolled into narrow spaces with the morph ball, fired missiles at odd walls, and stopped whenever a room felt just a little too neat. There has to be more, Max said. This game keeps acting like it knows things you don't. Tommy let Samus drop into a chamber they had not paid enough attention to before. At the far side sat another item room. See? Max said. I told you. Tommy took the item. A second later, little bombs began dropping behind the ball form in steady flashes. Danny pushed himself higher on the couch despite the ache in his head. That changes everything. It really does, Tommy said softly. Max stared at the screen. Now every tunnel could matter. Tommy tried the bombs in the nearest suspicious place and uncovered a hidden opening almost immediately. No way, Max whispered. Danny felt the same small thrill run through the room that had come with the morph ball, only stronger this time. Bombs did not just let you pass, they let you ask the walls questions. The new route led through stranger rooms, and before long, the colors shifted again. Brinstar's familiar green gave way to a region that looked rougher and more set apart from everything else they had seen. Tommy checked the manual, then looked up. Kraid. Max repeated the name with respect this time. One of the bosses. One of the ones guarding the way to Mother Brain. Danny watched the doorway on the screen and felt the house go quiet around them again. What do you think Kraid is? Max asked. Tommy studied the manual illustration. Something big. No, Max said. What if he's not just some monster? What if Mother Brain put him here on purpose because this part of the planet belongs to him? Danny thought of what Tommy had said before, that maybe only the right person was meant to get deeper. Kraid's area did not feel like another stop. It felt like a border. Tommy eased Samus forward into the first stretch of it, careful as ever, while the television light moved across the notebook map, the soup mug, and the medicine spoon on the table. Danny drew the blanket closer and listened to his friends breathe and guess and quietly argue, and for the first time all evening his sickness seemed to sit a little farther away. Crade's part of Zebes did not look merely hidden. It looked claimed. Even through fever-tired eyes, Danny could tell the difference. Brinstar had seemed old and secretive. Norfair had felt harsh and deep. But this place, with its rough walls, strange creatures, and cramped passages, gave off another feeling altogether, as if somebody had shaped it to suit themselves. Tommy had edged closer to the television without noticing. Max had stopped fidgeting. It really does belong to him, Max said quietly. Tommy guided Samus forward and tested the next ledge before taking it. Maybe. Or maybe it belongs to whatever he is. That's worse. The room around them stayed ordinary. The spoon on the table, the soup mug beside the ginger ale, the blanket drawn to Danny's chest. Yet the television kept drawing all of it toward itself. Tommy tried a bomb along a suspicious floor and opened a narrow route downward. There, Max said. This whole place is probably packed with secret ways. Crade wouldn't want anybody walking right up to him. Unless he likes the idea. Danny laughed once, then settled back. Breathing felt easier than it had that afternoon, though his throat still hurt. Tommy glanced over at once. You okay? Danny nodded. Just tired. Max moved the soup closer without being asked. Tommy rolled through another tight passage, dropped a bomb, and uncovered a hidden chamber with missiles inside. Max gave a low whistle. This place is rich. Or dangerous enough that they expect you to need everything, Tommy said. Danny listened to the word they. In Tommy's voice, it meant more than enemies. It meant whatever force had arranged Zebes into layers and locked ways forward. The idea made the planet seem less wild and more deliberate. On the notebook map, Max had started labeling boxes in pencil. Brinstar, Norfair, Crade? Danny liked the question mark. It felt honest. Do you think Crade's a pirate too? Max asked. Tommy considered that while he crossed a long room filled with awkward jumps. Maybe he works with them. Maybe he was already here. Like they showed up and made a deal with him? Could happen. Max nodded slowly. You live way down in the planet. Somebody comes along with ships and weapons, and next thing you know, you're guarding the road to Mother Brain. Danny watched the little armored figure pause at another doorway. The conversation was doing what the game never fully did on its own. It was filling the empty spaces without spoiling them. A taller enemy rose from below and clipped Samus on the way past. Tommy made a face but stayed steady. He fired, moved, and got through. I still think he doesn't talk much, Max said suddenly. Who? Him. Samus. Whoever he is. I bet he keeps everything in his head. Tommy nodded. You'd have to. If you got scared every time something jumped out, you'd never get anywhere. Maybe he's not just brave, Max said. Maybe he's lonely. Danny looked up more sharply at that. The word fit in a way the others had not. Not sad exactly. Just alone for so long that it changed how a person carried himself. Tommy found another hidden route with bombs, then another, until the whole region began to feel built from folded corridors and false endings. Crade's area did not reward rushing. It wanted patience. It wanted patience. From the kitchen came the faint clink of dishes being put away. Danny lifted the soup mug and took a careful sip. It had gone warm, which made it easier. Max noticed at once. That good? Danny shrugged. Better now. Tommy smiled without looking away from the television. See? The map is helping. The map is crooked, Max said. It's brave. They moved through another difficult stretch, then reached a chamber that felt different before either boy said so. The room was broader. The ledges looked less like obstacles and more like warnings. Tommy stopped moving. Max lowered his voice. This is it, isn't it? I think so. Danny set the mug down and forgot for a moment that his head hurt. Tommy checked the manual again, then looked back at the screen. Yeah, this has to be Crade. For a second, nobody spoke. The house around them stayed normal, with the heater ticking softly and the curtains holding back the dark. But on the television, the doorway stood open to something older and larger than the rooms before it. Max said, almost in wonder, what if he's been down here longer than the pirates? Longer than Mother Brain, even? Tommy didn't answer right away. He placed Samus at the edge of the chamber, ready but still. And Danny, under the blanket with the taste of warm soup and medicine still in his mouth, listened to the silence between them and felt the whole evening gather there in that pause before the planet revealed one more secret. Tommy held Samus at the edge of the chamber for one more second, as if even the figure on the screen needed time to face what waited ahead. The television threw light across the notebook map, the soup mug, the ginger ale, and the tissues on the table. Outside, the window had gone black. "He's in there," Max said. Tommy nodded. "Has to be." Danny shifted under the blanket. The fever was still with him, but it no longer felt like the biggest thing in the room. Tommy and Max had pushed it aside by giving him other things to think about. Hidden floors, narrow tunnels, red pits, a planet that seemed to hide one secret behind another. Tommy moved forward. Kraid appeared so suddenly that Danny pushed himself up on one elbow. He did not look like any kind of pirate. He looked ancient and ugly in a way that suited the place, as if Zebes had grown him out of its own walls. Max stared. "That is definitely not a pirate." Tommy almost laughed, though he kept his eyes on the screen. "No." The fight was clumsy in the old game way, but that made it feel more convincing to Danny. Kraid was not a neat challenge in a clean room. He was a hostile thing in a cramped place far underground. Tommy had to learn the creature and the room at the same time, stepping back, firing, missing, trying again. "Missiles," Max said. "I know." Tommy fired. Kraid lurched. The room seemed to shrink. Danny forgot the medicine spoon on the table. For a while, there was only Tommy leaning forward, Max warning him in a low voice, and the hulking shape on the television. Then Tommy lost the last of one energy bar, and the game threw him back. Max dropped onto his hands. "Oh, come on," Tommy exhaled. "I know what he does now." "It means you can't panic," Danny said before he meant to. Tommy glanced back with a quick smile. "Exactly." Tommy started the route again. This time he moved with more confidence, slipping through the hidden paths more smoothly. Kraid's region no longer seemed random. It felt arranged around him, like a shell built to protect one living center. "Imagine if Mother Brain keeps creatures like that on purpose," Max said. "Not soldiers. Guardians." Tommy nodded. "That fits." Danny thought that sounded true. Zebes did not feel like an ordinary base. It felt layered, with each region keeping its own answer hidden below everything else. The second fight went better. Tommy had learned where to stand and when to move. Max still muttered warnings under his breath as if he could steer the missiles with his voice. Danny watched in a hot, quiet haze, his hands tucked under the blanket. Then Kraid was gone. For a moment, the room felt oddly still. Tommy blinked twice to make sure. Max slapped the carpet. "You did it." Tommy leaned back at last. "We did it." Danny smiled, and this time the smile stayed. The victory did not feel loud. It felt deep, as if some heavy lock had turned far below the surface of the world. Tommy reached for the manual. "It says Kraid and Ridley are both guarding the way to Mother Brain." "So one more," Max said. "Yeah." Max bent over the notebook map. "Ridley sounds worse. Because the name sounds sharp?" Tommy asked. "And because he's lower." "He is. You can tell." Danny laughed softly, then coughed into the blanket. Tommy lowered the controller right away. "You all right?" Danny nodded. "Just dry throat." Max had already picked up the ginger ale. Small sip. Danny took one and gave the glass back. "Thanks." "You need us to stop for a bit?" Tommy asked. Danny looked at the television, where the chamber Kraid had guarded now sat open behind the little armored figure. "No. Keep going." Tommy did. He walked Samus through the emptied rooms, collecting what had been left by the victory. Kraid's part of Zebes was still rough and hidden, but no longer impossible. "Do you think Samus knows what Mother Brain even is before getting there?" Max asked. Tommy thought about it. Maybe only what he's been told. What if everybody just calls it Mother Brain because nobody has a better name? Danny liked that. It sounded exactly like something boys in a living room would decide. Half serious, half invented, and close enough to believable. Tommy guided Samus back toward the upper passages. Even Brinstar looked different now, as if the news had already traveled upward through the shafts and hidden openings. One guardian had fallen. Somewhere deeper in the planet, another still waited. Danny settled farther into the couch. The fever had not gone, but the evening had become easier to bear. Tommy and Max kept talking in softer voices now, only following the game and their own thoughts wherever they led. Outside, the dark pressed at the window. Inside, Zebes kept glowing, larger than ever. After Kraid, the whole game seemed to breathe differently. Tommy guided Samus back through the hidden routes with more confidence now, and even Max sounded less like he was guessing in the dark and more like he believed the three of them had actually learned something about Zebes. The notebook map lay open on the carpet between them, crooked boxes and pencil lines crossing one another like a schoolyard map. Danny stayed tucked under the blanket and watched through the softness that comes after a long day of being ill. His throat still hurt when he swallowed. His face was warm, but the room had become comfortable in a new way. Tommy and Max were not only passing time anymore, they were carrying him somewhere. "Now we need Ridley," Max said. Tommy nodded. "Then the way to Mother Brain opens." "That's what the manual says," Max replied. "But what if the planet changes when the Guardians are gone?" Danny liked that. Tommy did not laugh. He only sent Samus down through a familiar shaft, stopping once to bomb a floor they had missed before. A hidden opening appeared. Max pointed at the screen. "See? It's like the place notices." Tommy rolled through as a ball. "Or we're finally noticing it." From the kitchen came the clink of a spoon in a pot. On one side of the house, someone was talking about ordinary things. On the other, Tommy and Max were guiding an armored figure through an underground fortress planet toward a thing called Mother Brain. Tommy found his way back down toward Norfair. The red glow returned, heavier and meaner than before. Norfair always looked as if the walls themselves disliked visitors. "Ridley's got to be down in here somewhere," Max said quietly. "Maybe the very bottom," Tommy replied. "Then why is he guarding it? Why not Kraid?" Tommy thought while he played. Maybe Kraid guards strength, Ridley guards the last way through. Max accepted that at once. Yeah. Kraid feels like a wall. Ridley sounds like a knife. Danny shifted, and the blanket slid from one shoulder. Max noticed right away and reached over to pull it back up. "There? Better?" Danny nodded. "Thanks." Tommy took Samus through a hard stretch above the lava and into rooms they had not yet understood. With bombs and missiles and the memory of earlier mistakes, Norfair began giving up its secrets a little faster. New paths appeared. The deeper they went, the more Danny felt that the game was teaching them how it wanted to be seen. "That's the weird thing," Tommy said softly. "It's not just hiding stuff. It wants you to learn how it hides stuff." Max leaned forward. "Like a test." "A test to see if you think like Zebes," Tommy said. Danny looked at the screen more carefully after that. Maybe that was why Metroid felt so different from the other cartridges under the television. Most games told you what mattered right away. This one made you become the kind of person who could notice it. Another item room appeared behind an unlikely passage. Tommy took it. "Wait," Max said. "What changed?" Tommy checked the manual and then grinned. "Varia. What does that do?" "It makes the suit stronger, better against heat." Max sat back as though this confirmed something important. "See, you can't go into the deep parts the normal way. The planet makes you change first." Danny almost laughed at that, then had to cough instead. Tommy paused the game at once. "You okay?" he asked. Danny nodded and reached for the ginger ale himself this time. The bubbles had mostly gone, but the cold still helped. "I'm fine." Tommy unpaused. The map on the carpet gained more pencil lines. Ridley's region, when they finally reached it, looked leaner and darker somehow, less bulky than Kraid's part of the world and more severe. The rooms felt built for quick punishment. Even Max lowered his voice without deciding to. "This is him," he said. Tommy nodded once. "Do you think Ridley's another giant thing?" "No," Max said before Tommy could answer. "I think he's worse than giant." That made Danny smile. "Why worse?" Tommy asked. "Because giant things just crush you," Max said. "Fast things think about it first." For a while, they only played. Tommy lost his way once, then found it again through patience and bombing suspicious corners. Ridley's area demanded the same kind of attention Kraid's had, but without Kraid's heaviness. This place felt sharper, like something awake. At last, the chamber changed. Tommy stopped moving. Max whispered, "That's got to be him." The house around them remained warm and safe. The heater clicked. But everything in the room seemed to gather around that one pause, as if Tommy and Max and Danny himself had all come down through Zebes together, and were now standing just outside one more guarded secret. Tommy did not move for a second. The chamber on the screen looked wider than the rooms before it, with ledges placed in a way that felt less like ground and more like warning. The music still drifted on in that thin, uneasy way, but even it seemed to hold back. Max leaned in. "That's him." Tommy nodded once. In the television light, his face looked serious, careful in the way boys became careful when a game finally matched what they had imagined. A dish touched another dish in the kitchen. Danny could feel the blanket over his legs and the cool glass on the table near his hand. Yet all of that seemed to stand aside and leave room for Zebes. Tommy moved Samus forward. Ridley appeared with a sudden sharpness that made Max suck in a breath. He was nothing like Kraid. Kraid had seemed ancient and heavy. Ridley looked lean and hard, all edges and attack. "I told you," Max whispered. "Worse than giant." Tommy said nothing. He was trying to learn the room. The fight turned rough at once. Ridley moved in quick, ugly jumps. Tommy fired, backed away, got hit, corrected, fired again. Danny pushed himself higher on the couch without meaning to. His head ached with the effort, but he did not want to miss anything. "Missiles," Max said. "I know." Tommy's voice stayed steady. Danny noticed that most. Not that Tommy never got rattled because he did, but that he always tried to sound normal. Ridley lunged again. Samus flashed from the hit. Tommy held on a little longer, then lost. Max dropped back. Dropped back. "Ah, come on." Tommy let out a breath. "He moves worse than Kraid." "Not worse," Max said. "Smarter." Tommy started the route back. This time nobody talked much while he played. Max only pointed once or twice. Danny lay still under the blanket, listening to the buttons and the low sounds of the game. Halfway back, Tommy glanced over. "You okay, Danny?" Danny nodded. "Yeah. You need the TV lower?" "No." Max looked too. "Want soup later?" "Maybe." Then they were back at the chamber. The second fight went differently. Tommy had learned where Ridley tended to move and when there was time to fire instead of retreat. Max muttered the smallest advice under his breath. Danny watched the television light flicker over their sleeves, the crooked notebook map, and the medicine spoon on the table. Ridley hit hard, but Tommy lasted longer this time. A missile connected, then another. The chamber that had looked impossible a few minutes ago became a place with patterns in it. "There," Max said. "You've got him now." Tommy did not answer. He only kept moving. And then Ridley was gone. For a second, none of them reacted. The room had to catch up. The television kept glowing. The music returned to sounding distant instead of immediate. Tommy leaned back at last and let out the breath he had been holding. Max slapped the carpet once. "Yes." Danny smiled before he realized he was doing it. Tommy looked over his shoulder. "We got him," Danny nodded. "You did." "We did," Max corrected. Tommy checked the manual again, though more from habit than need. "With Kraid and Ridley gone, the way to Turian should open." "Turian," Max said softly. "That's where Mother Brain is." Danny looked at the notebook map on the carpet. All those uneven boxes and lines suddenly seemed less like guesses and more like proof that they had really followed something far enough to leave a shape of it behind. Tommy guided Samus out of Ridley's area, back through rooms that looked smaller than before. "Do you think Mother Brain knows they're coming?" Max asked. Tommy thought about it while he played. Maybe not like a person knows, but maybe Zebes does. "Yeah," Max said. "That's better," Danny agreed, though he did not say so. By now the planet no longer felt like a simple background. It felt aware in its own buried way, every part of it leading towards something at the center. His mother came to the doorway and looked in on them. "Still awake?" she asked softly. He nodded. She smiled when she saw Tommy and Max still on the carpet and the map spread between them. 10 more minutes," she said. Neither boy argued. They only nodded. Tommy left Samus standing at the mouth of another passage, somewhere above the deeper road that would lead on to Turian. The room on the screen was quiet now, but not empty. Max lowered his voice. "We can go the rest of the way next time." Danny pulled the blanket a little closer and looked at the glow of the television, at Tommy by the controller, at Max beside the pencil map, and then back to the waiting doorway on Zebes. His fever was still with him. His throat still hurt, but the evening had carried him farther than sickness had been able to hold him. "Yeah," he said softly. "Next time."